What team are you in?
She walked in calm fashion, her high heels echoing off the corridor halls, clacking on every step. Her brown hair
Shit,
bouncing
I think we're on the same
along
team.
with her rhythm. A little overdressed for her job, I thought.
Bob! Bob, you have a visitor! What's your name again?
Kevin.
Kevin is here to see you! I'm Tammy, by the way.
The door opened moments later with a tall man
Are you
standing
German?
on the other side.
Nah, yeah, I'm a German.
Hello there, Kevin. He said in a tired voice.
What's your squad?
How can I help you?
Oh, no, I see.
Yeah,
Join my squad.
my father
Harry.
talked to you on the phone about
Join
starting
Harry's
work
squad.
here. He told me to talk to you. I said, unsure of
Well,
the
I'm saying
actions to
just
take next.
Join the squad.
Oh, right. Well, first off, I should start by showing you around the place, he said, leaving his office. Your main job will be feeding the patients and washing the bathrooms and generally just keeping things clean around here. Feed them? I questioned, uneasy of the task. Well, really, all you have to do is just put a lunch tray through the feeding slot in their cells. It's not like you're spoon feeding them, he explained. I gave a sigh of relief. His way of speaking of the patients gave me chills. He referred to them almost as animals or something. Conti, is that Northern Italian? I asked, just trying to get to know him a bit. What's that? He said with a twist on his face. Conti, that's Italian, right? I asked again. Oh, Conti, I thought you said Monty, he said jokingly. Yeah, Northern Italian. Good guess. I laughed and asked him to tell me a bit more about the job. There are only 10 patients here, one of which is in a 24-hour solitary. Not to scare you, but I must tell you, he is a murderer. He is clinically insane and not allowed in prisons. And under no circumstances are you ever to talk to him. He is very manipulative and violent. Please, for your own safety, if you ever have a concern or question about him, come to myself or Tammy, he said with a serious look in his eyes. I could instantly feel the direness of his words. I understand, I said with a gulp. Okay, anyway, he said, right now the other 9 patients are in their rooms and will get to come out a little later for their nightly hour of common room time. Believe it or not, most of them play board games while a few play with the imaginary bunnies that walk around with them. It will take some time getting used to it, but trust me, it's not as hard as it sounds. I guess I'm going to have to take your word on that one, I said. This is the common room, he said as we rounded a corner to a small room with a few tables and chairs strewn about, a few different board games on the shelves. All you have to do is sit right there for about an hour and make sure nobody kills anybody. My jaw dropped, unable to say anything. I'm kidding. The other 9 inmates are all non-violent. They have 0 record of physical altercations. They've got some foul mouths, though, so be ready for that, he reassured. He showed the bathrooms and the holding cells and the rest of the group until the final tour was over and we were back at his office. So most of the time I'm in my office, doing the paperwork for invoices and making sure I've made the orders for food shipments and whatnot. No, ownership stuff. Anyway, you can talk to Tammy if you need anything. She's usually at her desk. Think of her as your sub-boss. Welcome aboard, he said with an extending handshake. What do I do now? I said in an unsure voice. Talk to Tammy, she will run you through the specifics, he said as he slowly closed the door. I walked down the winding, confusing hallways, finally making my way to Tammy's desk. So,
this is more than half the job. Sitting on your ass and waiting for the day to end.
wait, really?
Yep, you're looking at it.
So, what am I supposed to do?
You know what? I can let the patients out early tonight so you can see how that works. Bob shouldn't mind.
I agreed, since I really had no other choice. We walked down the maze of corridors to the long, narrow stretch of hallway extending from the common room. The long hall had 5 doors on each side, all identical, solid and white with the tint of yellow from the aging. Each had a small slot in the door which led to a tray-like feature on the other side. The decaying tiles on the wall had faded colors of a pale brown. Tammy walked in front of me, jingling the keys in her hands while opening the first door on the right.
Here's old Jackson.
A shadow-eyed man with gray hair slowly his feet. Hunched and purple that sagging from house gets dug into his skull. He seemed to hardly have the energy to saunter by me with an indifference to my existence. I was overwhelmed with feelings when I saw my first patient. The next few doors were the same story. Shells of human beings walking
Gustavo.
down the narrow hallway, dead-eyed and distant. Zombies. On the 6th door, finally, there was a change. An older black man with an obvious scar running its length down the side of his head. He had short hair and one whitened eye. His appearance shocked me at first, but later intrigued me. I was desperate to know what happened to him. "What's up, man? I see you looking at me. You know I popped 3,000 or 4,000 people when I was on the streets." The man spoke in a quick manner, his words spitting from his mouth. He stood to his feet and walked by both Tammy and myself, still bantering about his stories. I had 6 tigers, 4 lions, 17 mountain lions. You know, the ones from the mountains, not the ones from Africa. Homeland. Shit, man. Lions and tigers and bears. Tammy interrupted him. I assumed she was sick of his rambling, as was I.
That's Rick. He probably won't answer to that, though.
"Damn straight I won't answer to that. Scar's the name," he said with a twisting face. Tammy rolled her eyes.
Moving on.
Cell 7 and Cell 8 had 2 older women who seemed to be very twitchy, flinching and ducking at things that weren't even there, and eventually sprinting down the hall.
Anne and Kate.
She called them. Cell 9 held a young woman with fiery eyes. She had a tight muzzle
Dude, she's
strapped
getting so
around her
fucked up,
face,
man.
muffling her screams.
What?
This story's getting so fucked up. I swear.
Tammy had to practically drag her from her cell.
Oh, come on, Renee. He's not going to hurt you.
The woman was desperately trying to scream words towards Tammy and myself. She finally broke free from Tammy's grasp and manically sprinted down the hall. Tammy was swift after her, tackling her to the floor and crashing into the common room. The other patients watched in surprise. Tammy forcibly ripped the frightened patient to her feet, walking her back down the hall. She shoved to her and slammed the door shut.
You can just stay in there until you learn how to act in the common room.
She slammed her hand on the door 4 times in clear anger. I had no idea what to do. I was frozen. I gulped as I watched the scene unfold. Tammy finally removed her attention from Renee.
I'm sorry.
"Look, Tammy, I don't think I can do this," I said, as I slowly turned my back to her and began to leave the building.
No! You can't leave.
Alright, alleged legendary J Money.
There's extra help around here, as you can see.
I now heard the haunting screams of a deeper voice. The man in cell 10. Also muffled by what I assume was a muzzle, I took a deep breath, followed by a long stretch of silence.
Come on. I can show you some of the games we play with some of the other patients.
Okay, I finally broke. It may have had something to do with her attractiveness. Her face was the definition of perfect, and her body wasn't far behind. She smelled wide with my acceptance to the rest of the job. We made our way to the common room where the patients had been still dazzled by what they had seen.
Who wants to play house?
Tammy broke the silence with her question. Surprisingly, Jackson, Scar, Anne, and Kate all happily volunteered to join in on the game. The old man, Jackson, feebly rose his
Oh,
hand
dude, this
as
one
if he
gets
was too
really
afraid
fucked
to
up.
ask a question.
Yes, Jackson.
By the
What?
his raspy voice.
This one gets really
seeped out.
fucked up. Watch,
Well,
watch.
of course we can, Jackson. You've already got your diapers on.
Watch,
Jackson
hold
had
up.
a dopey-eyed smile on as he pulled his pants down to show his shit-stained diapers. I instantly retracted on impulse. I gagged as the smell hit my nose. I almost puked all over them.
Kevin! You can't act like that around the patients. Oh, look now, he's crying.
The skinny man sobbed uncontrollably and finally ran to the other corner of the room to sulk. Tammy left in a huff after the man picking up a spare diaper on the way.
Oh, did baby Jackson make a poopy?
He giggled and lifted his legs in the air.
The heck?
She proceeded to his diaper in the middle of the room. Once again, I was frozen in disbelief. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't. This couldn't be legal. I was disgusted to the point of nausea. Meanwhile, Scar was lying on his back, panting like a dog and kicking his legs in the air. I'm the pooch, yo. He laughed hysterically and he started barking.
Yes, you are, Rick. You're a good boy.
I'm Scar, he screamed. Jackson clapped his hands when Tammy was done changing his diaper. She slipped his pants back on and stood him to his feet. She quickly ran over to Scar and started rubbing his belly. He slapped his tongue out and rolled from side to side. Scar continued to giggle and make barking noises. Kate perked her eyes and exclaimed that she wanted to be the wife.
Wife? To me? That would make you a lesbian. You're not a lesbian, are you, Kate? No. I'm his wife.
She
What?
said this while pointing at me. I didn't know what to do. I looked to Tammy for guidance. She just raised her eyebrows at me as if I should play along. Kate started walking towards me, a wide smile on her face. I stepped back a few feet and she finally reached me. Her arms coiled around me tightly and squeezed. My hands shook as she squeezed even harder. I glared at Tammy, waiting for her to do something about it.
She's just playing, Kevin.
Are you sure? I hardly managed to squeak out. Finally, Kate loosened her grasp and stood back. I took a breath in the momentary calmness. Her hand struck back up and clenched my face.
Now, fuck me.
She said as she pulled my face towards hers. I twisted my body from her and shoved her away. Tammy quickly intervened and reprimanded Kate. I stormed out of the room, unable to process what was going on. I ended up sitting down in the front lobby, breathing heavily and staring out the front door. Looking back, I have no idea why I didn't just walk out at that moment and just be done with it. Something told me to stay. I could distantly hear Tammy's screams to the patients, sending them all back to their rooms, clearly angry with Kate's behavior. Finally, she came to the lobby, a fluster in her breath. I said the first words before she could say anything. This is fucked up, I said. I seriously can't do this shit. To have sex.